Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another day of class in AVC 177. I hope you're having a great day. Today, we're going to be talking about clipping masks. Clipping masks in Photoshop are a powerful way to control the visibility of a layer. In that sense, clipping masks are similar to layer masks. But while the end result may look the same, clipping masks and layer masks are actually very different. A layer mask uses black and white to show and hide different parts of a layer. But the clipping mask uses the content and transparency of one layer to control the visibility of another. So first off, let's download our 3 example photos for this lesson. We have silhouette photo of a person during golden hour by uh, Moto Del Har. We have photo of a body of water by Kwang Nguyen Vin, and white smoke on black background by Marek Piunicki. Apologies for all the mispronunciations of those names. They are spelled correctly within Canvas. To create a clipping mask, we need at least 2 layers. The layer on the bottom controls the visibility of the layer above it. In other words, the bottom layer is the mask, and the layer above it is the layer that's clipped to the mask. Where the bottom layer contains actual content, such as pixels, shapes, or type, the content on the layer above it is visible. But if any part of the layer on the bottom is transparent, then that same area on the layer above it will be hidden. Let's create a clipping mask ourselves so we can better understand how they work. First, open up photo of body of water in Photoshop. To really make sense of clipping masks, we first need to understand the difference between content and transparency on a layer. If we look in the layers panel, we see the photo on the background layer, which is currently the only layer in the document. We need 2 layers to create a clipping mask, one to serve as the mask and one that will be clipped to the mask. So let's add a second layer. We'll add the new layer below the image. First, unlock the background layer by clicking the lock icon or dragging it down to the trash can in the layers panel. Then, to add a new layer below the image, press and hold Control on Windows or Command on Macintosh and on your keyboard, and then click Add New Layer icon next to the trash can in the layers panel. A new layer named Layer 1 appears below the photo, and we now have 2 layers in the document. If it appeared above the photo, then simply drag it below the photo. We'll turn the bottom layer into the mask, and the image above it will be clipped to the mask. For now, hide the original image by clicking the top layer's visibility icon, the eye to the left of the layer preview in the layers panel. With the top layer turned off, we see that the layer we just added. By default, new layers in Photoshop are blank, meaning they have no content at all. A layer with no content is transparent, and we see right through it. When there are no other layers below a transparent layer, Photoshop displays the transparency as a checkerboard pattern. Let's turn the top layer back on. This layer contains content, which can be anything from pixels to text to vector-based shapes. Anything that isn't transparent is considered content by Photoshop. So, how do we actually make a clipping mask? First, select the layer you wish to clip to the layer below it. In this case, our layer 0, or previous background layer, will be clipped to the layer 1 we created earlier. Then, right-click on the layer and select Create Clipping Mask from the pop-up menu. You can also do this with the keyboard shortcut of Alt-Control-G on Windows or Option-Command-G on Mac. If you wish to release your clipping mask later, the process is the same. Right-click and select Release Clipping Mask, which will have replaced the Create option. With the layer mask created, the Layers panel now shows the top layer indented to the right, with a small arrow pointing down at the layer below it. The layer that is acting as the mask also gets an underline underneath its name. However, in this example, all that we've accomplished so far by creating a clipping mask is that we've hidden the image from view. That's because our mask layer contains no content. It's completely transparent. With a clipping mask, any areas on the top layer that are sitting directly above transparent areas on the bottom layer are hidden. Since the bottom layer contains nothing but transparency, no part of the image above it is visible. Let's change that. We're just going to create a simple shape. Select the elliptical marquee tool, or M, from the toolbar. You may have to right-click on the rectangular marquee tool and then select the elliptical marquee tool if the elliptical one is not already in front. Or you can simply use the rectangular marquee tool for this example. Click and drag out an elliptical or rectangular selection somewhere on our transparent layer 1. Then navigate to Edit and then select Fill or press Shift plus F5. Since we're just using this as a mask, it doesn't matter what color we choose. Then deselect by clicking outside the image or selecting Deselect in the contextual taskbar. We can see that while we have our circle visible now, the rest of the layer remains transparent. Now, when we turn on the visibility of our layer 0 with content, we will see that the image that previously took up the entire document space is now clipped to the shape we made. If I swap to the brush tool and paint on our transparent layer 1, you will see more of the above image be revealed. This is functionally how clipping masks and layer masks in general work. One notable place where clipping masks shine over layer masks is with live editable content, such as text. Layer masks cannot handle live content. If you try to type within a mask, it will not stay editable, but will instead be rasterized into the pixel mask. Clipping masks, however, do not directly change the layers they are clipped to. So when you apply a clipping mask to your text, you can still edit your text with ease. Now, let's combine our newfound knowledge of clipping masks with some previous tools and techniques we've learned. Delete our layer 1 and release the clipping masks of layer 0 by right-clicking on that layer and selecting Release Clipping Mask. We should be back to about where we started when we first opened this image. While we're here, let's rename this layer for organizational purposes. Double-click on the text that reads Layer 0 to change it to a text box where you can rename it. Let's name this layer Water Landscape. If you double-click elsewhere, you'll bring up the Layer Style dialog. Don't worry, you can either close this dialog and try again, or edit the name in the field in the upper left of the dialog before pressing OK. More than likely, you will see me making some sort of mistake in renaming in the video, and I'll try to force those mistakes so you can see how I handle each one. Now we're going to bring in our other two images. Drag and drop Silhouette Photo and White Smoke from Finder or File Explorer into the document workspace. Press Enter or Return to confirm their placement. We'll worry about resizing any in a moment. Let's rename our other two photos. Name Silhouette Photo, Silhouette, and White Smoke, White Smoke. Sometimes the simplest names are the best. Now let's turn off the visibility of both Water Landscape and White Smoke so that only Silhouette is visible. With the Move tool selected and Show Transform controls checked, resize Silhouette so that it fits the canvas from top to bottom. I'm going to resize from center by holding Alt on Windows or Option on Mac while dragging one of the corner anchors. Press Enter or Return or Done on the contextual taskbar to confirm the transformation. Next, select the Object Selection tool, or W, from your toolbar, and then click Select Subject in the top options bar. After a moment, this should select our silhouette rather cleanly. Then click the mask icon in either the contextual taskbar or the layers panel. This will isolate the silhouette and remove the background from visibility. This is essentially how our clipping masks work, but this is an actual layer mask. And we'll be talking more about editing and refining layer masks in a future lesson. I want you to now move the Water Landscape layer above the Silhouette layer and then the White Smoke layer above the Water Landscape layer. Select the White Smoke layer, and with the Move tool selected, let's resize and rotating it so that it fills the entire image space. Press Enter or Return or Done on the contextual taskbar to confirm the transformation. Next, we're going to duplicate the White Smoke layer by clicking and dragging the layer to the new layer icon in the Layers panel. This will create a duplicate layer called White Smoke Copy. Move White Smoke Copy to the bottom of your layer stack. Your Layers panel should look like the image in Canvas at this point, or how I'm illustrating in the video. Now let's get to clipping those masks. Right-click on Water Landscape and select Create Clipping Mask. Then do the same to the top White Smoke. What you see on your screen won't change, but the clipping mask should now be applied. You can double check this by toggling the visibility of White Smoke Copy below. Select the top White Smoke layer and change the blending mode to Soft Light. Now you can see a little bit of my vision. I want the smoke on top to blend with the silhouetted image to create a blended sort of effect. You can toggle the visibility of the white smoke layer or change the blending mode to other modes to see how the image looks with and without the layer. Lastly, we're going to create a solid color adjustment layer above all the layers by clicking Adjustment Layer icon at the bottom of the Layers panel and selecting Solid Color. We don't want this to be clipped to the silhouette because we're going to use this color fill layer to create a sense of color harmony for the whole image. Double click the layer square in the color square in the Layers panel to bring up the color picker. Choose a color that you think will look interesting with this image. I'm going to choose a dusty sort of purple pink. I'm going to change the blending mode of this to soft light, since it'll have a subtle sort of color shift, but feel free to experiment with other blending modes for your own assignment. I also really like the effects I got with screen, vivid light, and divide. If you're not happy with the color you chose, double click the color square to bring up the color picker again. Now that your blending mode is active, you can see the change in your image as you shift your color. Now, as we worked, I noticed that this was a really large image to work with. And if we open up the image size dialog in the image size in the top menu bar, we can see that it is indeed very large. Before we submit this, let's bring down the size a little bit. With the resample box checked, I'm going to change the width of the image to 2000 pixels. This will make it much more reasonable size. At the time of this transcript, my image size reduced from 115M to 7.6M, which will make it faster to upload on Google Drive and, more importantly, make it easier for me to download them to check. I have attached a photo of what mine looked like at the end of this project, of this little mini project in Canvas, but you'll probably also see it on my screen in the video. Now, once you've completed all of these steps and you're happy with your assignment, you'll want to name your file as with our standard naming convention, which is your first name, then last name, then clipping masks assignment.psd. For example, I would name mine Susie Crane clipping masks assignment.psd. Then I want you to place this in the assignments folder in your AVC 177 Google Drive folder. Then copy the link to this file or to your AVC 177 Google Drive folder and paste the link into this assignment's text box. Once you've done that, click the Submit Assignment button and you are done. I hope that that was an interesting way to learn clipping masks and helped you understand how clipping masks and a little bit about how masks in general work. I hope that you had a fun time, and I will talk to you next time. I hope you have a great week and take care.